Each verse has its own specific lens you can view it through. The protagonist here is going to get a bunch of Oscars pretty much because they're going to be acting like everything is okay. They're actually not fine. Cue the TikTok sound by Katy Perry. I'm not going to play it because of copyright, but play it in your head. Hi everyone, welcome to this video. On my channel, I analyze song lyrics very in depth through the lens of literary analysis. Today we're going to be analyzing the song Cool About It by boygenius. I'm really excited. I love this song so much. It gets me feeling kind of emo, but also ethereal. I will make sure to link my other boygenius/𝘸𝘢𝘯𝘬 analyses down below. There's going to be some Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus analyses coming too, so make sure to stay tuned. And if you have any requests, feel free to comment them down below. As a reminder, everything I say is literally just my own personal opinion. Music is very subjective, and I always invite you to share your perspective down below in the comments. Right now on the screen, you're going to be seeing a list of literary terms I may refer to throughout this video. I usually start off by talking about the song title, but this song title changes in its meaning throughout the song, so I'm just going to talk about it as we go through the lyrics. For me personally, the lyrics of this song are showcasing the progression of a relationship. We have the beginning stages where there are some butterflies and feelings of unsureness, and then that morphs into a betrayal. It's very dramatic. And then we have a shifting of perspectives, walking in the other person's shoes, and some understanding that happens after maybe some issues in the relationship. That's how I personally view the song. You can also view it as being about the same relationship, just from different perspectives. What I really like about this song is that each verse is of course sung by one of the three members of boygenius, but each verse has its own specific lens you can view it through, and there's no like right way to interpret it. That's what's beautiful about art and music. But I also love on their lyric video, which will be linked down below, I think that each of the verses are in the handwriting of whoever is singing it. Seems really cool to me. It's distinct but cohesive. It's just a really nice touch. This song is something that I've listened to on repeat so often. It's so beautiful. It's so sad. If I'm in my emo vibes, I start crying at Phoebe's verse. I'm not wearing any waterproof makeup, so we're gonna hold it together. This is always gonna be true when I'm talking about this group of songwriters. Their songwriting is very intricate. It's often very specific, and it's always very emotional. Let's just get into it. First one. Met you at the dive bar to go shoot some pool and make fun of cowboys with the neck tattoos. I ask you easy questions about work and school. Here in verse 1, we have context. We have the meeting of two souls in a dive bar. This is like a first date sort of scenario. I sense some nervous energy here, some feelings of unsureness, of someone maybe being a little bit self-conscious, which are all very normal feelings when you're on a first or even a second date. The making fun of the cowboys with the neck tattoos, I enjoy how that's specific. If you watch my channel, you hopefully know this by now. I hope you're listening. I believe that specificity brings forth intimacy and relatability within song lyrics. I do believe that the more specific lyrics are, the more you're going to relate to it, which may seem counterintuitive, but to me, I love lyrics that are personal, that feel like a diary entry. I love specificity because it makes me feel like I'm with my best friend and they're filling me in on their life. You can kind of paint a picture for yourself. It's like a movie, and it builds trust because it's like they're allowing you into their world. They're telling you specific details. They're not leaving anything out, and it makes you want to learn more about them. I'm not saying this song is autobiographical, but when there's details like this, I think it helps you connect more with the writing. This is why I love Taylor Swift lyrics so much, because they're always very specific. I do enjoy ambiguity in song lyrics. If you want to see me talk about ambiguity a lot, go watch my analysis of the song Space Song by Beach House. One of the most ambiguous songs ever. I stand so hard, but there's something to be said about specificity as well. So what I think is important here is not the fact that they're making fun of cowboys with neck tattoos, just the specificity here is going to affect the tone of the song, a more intimate setting. I ask you easy questions about work and school. The diction here, the word easy, right? This is like a no pressure sort of scenario. This is at the very beginning stages, not even of a relationship, just of getting to know someone. You're talking about work and school, which are things that are normal things to talk about upon first meeting a potential suitor. Chorus. Trying to be cool about it, feeling like an absolute fool about it. So this protagonist here is trying to be chill in a scenario where people are often not chill. A first date, right? Or just starting to get to know someone. There is often the presence of nervous energy in those scenarios, and that is valid. That's normal. So they're trying to be cool, they're trying to be chill, they're trying to just like be normal. And they're feeling like an absolute fool. about it. I think that when you're so in your head to like try to be cool and chill and like nonchalant and like not care, your nervous energy sometimes peeks through and you say things you wouldn't normally say and you make jokes that are awkward that you wouldn't normally say. I think you often wear a mask when you're trying to be yourself and you're nervous. When you don't think about it, you are yourself. Paying too much attention to something often messes with it. So that's why the protagonist is feeling like a fool. This to me also indicates that they care about this person, like they like them a little bit, right? Or maybe a lot of it. That's why they're feeling foolish, because they want to make a good impression. Wishing you were kind enough to be cruel about it. This is an interesting lyric. So the protagonist is feeling kind of self-conscious and they were wishing that the love interest here was kind enough to be cruel about their awkwardness, right? About the nervous energy. The love interest here, I think, is being very pleasant and kind and charming and wonderful. And that is horrible. Sometimes you would rather someone just like not be nice, have a little mini red flag so you can like not care. You're not going to care that you had all this nervous energy because you don't want them at the end of the day anyway. You realize that they're not a match for you. But the love interest on this date was not cruel. Now this isn't like horrible, but it's horrible in the sense that it means that you have to continue on this journey of getting to know this person, and that can be very frightening. Sometimes, depending on where you're at in regards to your internal state, it may be easier just for something to like fizzle out after the first date or two, because you don't have to be emotionally invested. You can just be like, okay, it didn't work out, like it's fine, and you can move on with your life, and you don't have to open yourself up more than you're used to. But if something is going well, you can get kind of spooked and freak out, and you're like, okay, like everything's going good so far. And after a while, that means you're gonna have to become more emotionally intimate with someone. And that means you're gonna be vulnerable, and that can be scary. Sometimes some people may view it as a gift for someone to like be cruel, because that means that they don't have to open themselves up to them emotionally. Telling myself I can always do without it, knowing that it probably isn't true. What is the it here referring to? I think it's referring to love and to having a legitimate, valuable sort of relationship. The protagonist, again, they're like in their head right now. They're telling themselves, you know what, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. They don't need love. That's not a necessity. However, the back of their mind, they know that it isn't true. They're trying to keep telling themselves that they don't care and that this isn't something substantial, but it could very much be something substantial because the love interest is not being cruel. They're being kind and nice. That's my impression. The protagonist is saying, worst case scenario doesn't work out. It's okay. They don't need love anyway, but they do need love. There's something at stake here. Not only is this love interest like a green flag so far, but the protagonist is looking for love. In their core, they know that they need love as well. You can survive without love, of course, but love can be very nourishing. Protagonist understands the weight of what they can gain from this and what they can also lose from this. It's all an internal, mental, emotional sort of game. This is all very vulnerable. It's like really cute because you're just like, oh my gosh, feelings, emotions. But when you're feeling these sorts of things, it can be very scary and exciting. Just a mixture, a mishmash. I can't say mishmash. I just said it, but like it sounds weird when I say it. It's like a mosaic of emotions. Verse number 2. Now in verse 2 and chorus 2, I think we're at the point of the relationship where there's been like a fight or a betrayal of some sort. I say this because of the first lyric in verse 2. It says, I came prepared for absolution if you'd only ask. Absolution refers to the act of forgiving someone for having done something wrong or sinful. The fact that the word sinful exists within this definition is significant because when you do something wrong, it could be something major or minor. When you do something sinful, pretty major. So the protagonist here came prepared to give forgiveness to the love interest here. I personally am thinking about this all from the perspective of the same protagonist, but if you want to, you can view each verse as from like a different perspective. So something happened, right? They're gonna meet up and talk about it, and the protagonist was ready to forgive the love interest. So I take some offense when you say no regrets. This love interest was ready to move past this issue, whatever it was, and they were ready to forgive. However, the love interest here didn't have any regrets about anything that happened. That is kind of off-putting when someone is willing to put their armor down, to quote, don't wait by Dashboard Confessional, but the other person doesn't really even care. That is kind of like a punch in the gut. It always sucks when you care more about something than the other person, especially in the context of a romantic relationship. You feel foolish. And that is interesting because we had the diction, the word foolish or fool in verse 1. So I understand why the protagonist found it offensive that the other person didn't have regrets about what happened. We don't know what happened, but I don't think it really matters. I remember it's impossible to pass your test. I think that's giving a clearer view of the dynamic of this relationship. In verse 1, I got green flag vibes, right? They weren't cruel, they were chill. However, a lot of people are great when you first meet them. When you get to know them, the dynamic kind of establishes itself more robustly, and you realize what the cons of this dynamic are, right? You know the pros pretty early on, but then as you move forward, you get to know what potential issues could arise. And no relationship is perfect. Every relationship is going to have pros and cons. However, they're going to be weighted differently, right? The magnitude of the cons hopefully is always very, very minuscule in relation to the pros. I remember it's impossible to pass your test. Watch the diction here. It says I remember, meaning that this is a pattern of behavior. This isn't a one-off. If someone keeps testing another person, I find that to be toxic. Personally speaking, if you're with someone and you trust them and there's already been like an establishment of trust, I don't see a reason to keep like testing them, because it sets up a really weird power dynamic, which is not equal in my opinion. And if you constantly have to like pass tests that someone is like giving out, like pop emotional behavioral quizzes, there are trust issues at play. There's like something weird going on. Like if someone has trust issues, I understand, that's valid. But if it's manifesting in them constantly testing someone and not trusting them, which is how I'm interpreting this, those are not chill vibes in my opinion. Those things need to be like talked out, not tested, because that to me comes off as manipulative. And when there's manipulation, I personally interpret that as deception. When there's deception, is there a foundation for a relationship? I would argue not. The diction impossible also is pretty definite. The diction in verse 2 is interesting. There's a lot of very like heavy weighted words and like definite sort of words, absolution and impossible, and also offense. Offense has like a slightly less intense connotation when I compare it to absolution and impossible. However, the connotation of those words, it's like this. It's kind of like, it's not warlike, but I think about like fighting. It's instability, some mild anger, some mild chaos. Chorus number 2. I interrupt this video with a very special message from myself. This is sponsored by me. I want to let you guys know that I'm offering services on the website Fiverr. I'm offering a few different things. I can help you refine your own analysis skills to develop your own unique perspective about poetry, about song lyrics, about any written work. I've also been getting a lot of messages from you guys letting me know that you use my videos to help you learn English. So if you need an English conversation partner, I'm your girl. We can converse through the internet. I can help you with pronunciation, sentence structure, and random things about American culture that are not super intuitive. If you're a songwriter or a poet and want me to read your original piece of work and provide you with a very detail-oriented feedback, I can do that as well. All that information is going to be linked down below. If you have any questions about any of the services I'm offering, please message me directly through the website Fiverr. Back to the video that you actually clicked here for. In the first chorus, it said trying to be cool. They're trying to be chill. Here, they're trying to forget. That's not the most positive progression. In chorus 1, they were feeling like an absolute fool about it, which was like cute in that context, right? Because it was a first date. But here, they're trying to forget about it and they're feeling like they're breaking a sweat about it. When someone is breaking a sweat in this context, and breaking a sweat is an idiom, I know that I have some international viewers, that's why I'm pointing that out. It means that someone is doing something that's causing them a lot of like physical, or in this case, emotional strain. If someone is breaking a sweat emotionally, it means that they're stressed, they're anxious, they're angered to the point of exhaustion. Not a positive internal state. It suggests a state of unbalance. And to me, I think about rumination. When you ruminate on something, you think the same thought or similar thoughts over and over again on a spiral, and that creates anxiety and more instability. So whatever is going on here, it's really bothering the protagonist, and it's kind of like a mental anguish sort of thing. It's not something that they're gonna like think about and then go do something and forget about. It's something that's constantly on loop in the back of their mind. That's how I'm interpreting this. Wishing you would kindly get out of my head about it. It's really heartbreaking to me. They're being very polite. I also found the word absolution to be kind of polite. Like, it's like a heavy-weighted word, but I find it to be very like regal. I don't know why. I feel like it's like a king or queen like forgiving someone. I was prepared for absolution. You know what I mean? So the word kindly here makes me view the protagonist as being very hurt. I view them as being in pain, and I view them as a little small here emotionally. as if the love interest has a lot of power over them in this scenario, especially because of the addiction wish or wishing. They're like hoping and yearning for something. They're wishing for someone to kindly be nicer, to be more chill. That's heartbreaking, right? They're not in an emotionally good spot. Telling myself one day I'll forget about it, knowing that it probably isn't true. So this protagonist is hurt by the actions of this love interest. They were ready to forgive them, but the fact that the love interest didn't regret whatever happened is heartbreaking to them, which is understandable, right? Someone not regretting hurting you and someone not caring is very, very heartbreaking. In and of itself, it's heartbreaking, but when you think about it a little more, it shows that you have both been operating within different realms. This whole time, you thought that your intensity or amount of love was comparable to the other person's, but perhaps it wasn't. It makes you question your own judgment. Perhaps it makes you not trust yourself anymore. When you think that something was so true and so real, and when you thought that perhaps you understood someone so deeply that you could guess that they were going to want forgiveness, but then when you were wrong about all of those things, it's like your version of the world was fake. It's like Wizard of Oz, the curtain finally fell, and like this magical world of Oz was all like fake. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Wizard of Oz, I don't know what you're doing, but like spoiler alert, I guess. Maybe came out quite a while ago, but that's what it is, right? It's like the Truman Show, kind of. Another spoiler alert. You guys, you need to go watch these movies. Spoiler alert, but it's not my fault if you haven't seen it, okay? Go Google it. It's like the Truman Show at the end when he thinks he's in the real world, but then he finally sails the fake sea, touches the horizon, and realizes it's just cardboard. That's low-key trippy. This is emotionally trippy. Verse 3. This is sometimes when I start crying. Everything is building up, and then when we get to this point, I'm just like, oh my God. Once I took your medication to know what it's like, and now I have to act like I can't read your mind. I ask you how you're doing and I let you lie. Ooh, okay. The I let you lie. I literally cannot even with that. Okay. I still view this from the point of view of the same protagonist. We can view this as time being passed, and I don't know if they're broken up or not, and I am assuming that they were in like a relationship throughout this song. You can also view this as being about friendship. You can view this however you like. For me, I get romantic vibes from this song. They could either have stayed together. I kind of, for some reason, interpret it as them having broken up, but still being friends. That's why they're in each other's lives. And after the breakup, the protagonist who perhaps felt betrayed in verse 2 and chorus 2 that we just went over, they're now gaining an understanding about the love interest and getting maybe some context as to why they didn't have regrets. They didn't want forgiveness. This is not like a redemption for the love interest. It's painting a broader picture of the context of the love interest's internal world. Again, multiple ways to interpret it. If you think about it a different way, please tell me down below. I genuinely would be interested to know. So when it says, once I took your medication to know what it's like, I interpret this as metaphorical. I do not think that this protagonist is going and taking this love interest's meds. Don't take medication that's not prescribed to you. Like, don't do that, right? I think that maybe they got a taste of something that the love interest experienced. Maybe they had something similar happen to them, or maybe they found out more details about the love interest's personal life or past. Maybe they connected some dots about some things that happened in their past. You know how sometimes like you don't understand something about someone and you hear one story about their past, or you talk to their family member, or you like, I don't know, you see a picture and there's a story about it that they tell you and it makes you connect dots. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking about here. And also, I do kind of think maybe the protagonist had like something parallel to the love interests. Painful experiences happened to them. My point is that something happened where the protagonist has gained some intimate understanding about the love interest's past. They're understanding the emotional context with which they act and exist from. That's what I think of when I'm thinking about taking the medication. Let's talk about the addiction medication because it doesn't have the most positive connotation. Medication is given in various circumstances, but it's given always when there is some sort of disease, whether it's physiological or mental. There is something that is not going the way it should in regards to the love interest here. The protagonist now has some insight into that. And now I have to act like I can't read your mind. Whatever this protagonist now understands is something that they cannot let on. Maybe it's information or understandings that were not given by the love interest. Maybe they found out a different way. So they have to play coy. They have to show that they don't have this understanding. And the way it's just stated here, and now I have to act like I can't read your mind. There is something that they have uncovered about the love interest that is very, very important. It's like the essence of who they are. They found out about the one event that turned them into the person they are. Sometimes there's one thing that happens that colors the lens with which you view the world, and the protagonist has uncovered that about the love interest. They understand now how they interpret things. That's why they have to say, and now I have to act like I can't read your mind. I ask you how you're doing, and I let you lie. That's when I start crying. The protagonist here knows the love interest is not doing okay. Because what is the common answer when someone's like, oh my God, hi, how are you doing? And you're like, oh my God, I'm so great. How are you? That's usually how it goes. Sometimes people call you out. Sometimes your loved ones are like, how are you really? Right? And that's wonderful. It's important to have people that kind of press you so you have someone that you can confide in. But whatever the protagonist here has found out is so heavy that they're not going to do that. They're going to let them lie and say that they're fine. Because the alternative is something they don't want to remind the love interest of. That's how I'm interpreting it. Another way to think about this is that the protagonist is going to let them lie because they don't want the love interest to know that they know. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to let on that they have this understanding about their past because it could be embarrassing for them. If it's something that is this intense and heavy, which is how I interpret it, then perhaps the protagonist, out of respect, is just playing ignorant, which I think would be the right thing to do. Sometimes when you find out something about a person, it's more graceful and respectful and more honorable to not bring it up. It's going to give you understanding about the person, and it's going to perhaps allow you to treat the other person with more grace, but out of respect, sometimes you just don't even want to bring up that you know something. The protagonist could have found out something that was very traumatizing to the love interest, right? This is really heartbreaking. This is really sad. I view the protagonist in a very good light here. I view them as someone doing something very honorable, not bringing up something when they could. And then we have chorus number 3. But we don't have to talk about it. I can walk you home and practice method acting. Going along with what I just said, they're not going to bring it up. I can walk you home. So now the power dynamic is switched a little bit, but in a soft way, not in like an intense, angry way. The protagonist is walking the love interest home. I still think they're friends. I think they broke up because of that betrayal or because of another issue. And I think they're friends here. You know how sometimes you gain an understanding about the end of a friendship or a relationship after things have already like settled and fizzled out, and it allows you to view that situation like in hindsight with more grace? That's how I'm interpreting this particular scenario. Let's look at the diction and practice method acting. The protagonist here is going to get a bunch of Oscars pretty much because they're going to be acting like everything is okay, and they're going to be acting like they believe the love interest is fine when they say they're fine. They're actually not fine. Cue the TikTok sound by Katy Perry. I'm not going to play it because of copyright, but play it in your head. So method acting you can think of as a more intense, immersive form of acting. Perhaps a method actor is not going to cut character between takes. Perhaps they're going to lead the same lifestyle that their character did for months before even shooting. If someone's gone method, they are very, very committed to the character they're going to be playing. This is showing that the protagonist is fully committed and immersed in acting like everything is okay. And I personally think they're doing this out of respect for the love interest, which is very honorable. I'll pretend being with you doesn't feel like drowning. So this line is interesting because when you hit this line, you can interpret them as still being together. For me, I'm still more partial towards the interpretation that they were broken up and just friends. I feel like the protagonist would be quote unquote drowning in this instance because they're drowning in emotions. Not only are they like hanging out with someone that they were in a relationship with before, but now they're holding on to a secret that they know. And every time they look at them, they're thinking about what they know. And they want to blurt it out like, I know that's about your past, but they're not. They're existing within different realms. Yet again, I sense a pattern about this relationship, telling you it's nice to see how good you're doing, even though we know it isn't true. What they know isn't true is that the love interest is doing well. The protagonist has decided that they're going to exchange pleasantries and niceties with this person, and they're not going to take it any further. You know how people say you have to pick your battles? I think you also have to pick your conversations. Sometimes you do have to be judicious about things you bring up with people, not only in the context of like a confrontation, but also in a peaceful scenario. An example would be like in this song, you know something about someone, you quote unquote took their medication, so you understand them, but you're not going to bring it up for many reasons. Again, it could be for the honorable, respectful reason, or maybe the method that you found it out is not one that's going to look good for you. Maybe you were snooping somewhere you weren't supposed to. There's lots of ways to extrapolate this out. The ending of the song is not the happiest. I think it's realistic. I think this song is chronicling a relationship. That's how I'm viewing it. It was cute, then there was some drama, and then there's a very gentle, somber sort of resolve. I do view this as a soft sort of ending. They're gonna be in each other's lives. They're gonna just keep it surface level like this, and it is what it is. That's all I have for this song. I adore this song. I know it's pretty sad. As I've stated before on this channel, sad music very rarely makes me feel sad. It just makes me feel chill. So like, I'm fine listening to this on repeat. I feel very calm and balanced. Don't analyze what that means about me personally. I'm fine. Please tell me what you think about this song. I would love to hear your take about it. Are there any other songs from the record that you would like me to analyze, or any songs by Lucy, Phoebe, or Julian? Please tell me down below. My tutoring and consulting services are also linked down below. Feel free to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!